fact and give our gut reactions on all things pop culture, film, TV and theatre. We talk to legends in the creative industry and those on the rise. We game old school. We support independent creatives. Got a project? Tell us about it. Get in touch. We do all of this, and a whole lot more. Like, subscribe, get involved. Join Steen Anthony Nielsen and the Outcasts Creative.
What's going on? Unbeknownst to me, yesterday was UFO Disclosure Day. UFO Disclosure Day, and I'm quite a big ufologist in my part time. I'm always very interested in what's going on behind the scenes with UFO disclosure, that kind of thing. And one of my best friends is making a documentary about it. And I don't know, he said he was crashing out, but hey, I'm gonna send him an invite anyway. He's just released what I think is a really good sort of short video on YouTube, which is a concise it's a concise sort of selection of clips of some of the most salient factual points about information that has come to light from credible sources, people that work in the institutions concerned, people that work for the US government, people that are working on the programs to reverse engineer technology, things like that. And if you sift around, if you're diligent in your studies and your research, you'll find that these sources are real. They're credible. These people do work for who they say they work for, or did. And hang on, I'm gonna. So let me just mute myself for a second. Give me two secs. Okay, fantastic. My guest has confirmed he's going to come on, so that's good news. Okay, great to know. Right, so that's predominantly what we're going to talk about tonight. All right, so let's get to it. So Alex's video. Oh, Dan Candy's got food poisoning. Sorry to hear that. This stream is completely unscheduled, so I didn't even do like any advertising or anything. So I appreciate the 4 people that are now already watching. That's very kind of you. I'm going to grab the stream link. I'll just drop it in a couple of places while we're live. Oh! Let's just mute myself. Don't want to be doing the double echo. Yeah, let's just drop a couple of posts quickly. Most people don't see my stuff on Facebook. You know, Facebook's kind of done as a advertising platform. I really need to get on TikTok. That's where it's at, right? But I'm already running 4 social media platforms. I don't employ a PA. How much time am I, going to have to do here? So discussing UFO disclosure. All right, cool. So I've got a late night show on Thursday where I may well pick up this subject again. But I've kind of worked all day today on my book, and I just thought, you know what, I need to chill out. And actually, one of the things that does make me relaxed is coming on a stream and hanging out with you guys. So I'm just going to tag a whole load of my friends here, see if I can encourage 1 or 2 others to pop on. I think that's maybe Melissa. Hey, 6 people watching. The numbers are going up already. Actually, do you know what? I've noticed a big jump in my when I've properly planned stuff and I'm advertising it properly. I've noticed a big jump in my numbers last couple of days, so that's great stuff. So yes, we're gonna get into the UFO topic, and I'm gonna show you this little video in just a sec. And let's we'll see we'll see what you think of it. Now, my buddy has already posted it. He's not really an active YouTuber, but he is going to be, as I said, making a documentary on because he's been researching this for I think about 3 or 4 years now. And he's researching it very intensely. So yeah, I think it's going to be. So his video has already got 1,000 views. That's pretty good going, isn't it? I'm going to pop the link for it in the chat, but I am going to play it. I'm going to play it in a second. But it's here. This is the. There you go. Obviously, don't jump off this stream and watch that now. But yeah, it's very interesting, and I want to know what people think. I would see, because the reason I wanted to do this stream, and I think I might do a regular spot about UFOs and stuff. My glasses, what's going on here? Is when I talk to people about this subject, I'm kind of frustrated because I get the same reaction that I got when I talked to them about it 20 years ago, which is like, oh, there's not really any more proof, etc., etc., etc. But anyway, we're going to bring in our scientific expert now, who has been working on this subject for many moons. He could have been to the moon. He might have a base on the moon, for all I know. Here he is. It's the Breezy, Alex the Breezy.
Yes, so PhD, GCSE.
GCSE, exactly. So, so mate, no, joking aside, how long have you been researching this subject for your up and coming film?
Oh man, well, probably like yourself, got into it as a kid, sort of captured the imagination, like most kids. Same as dinosaur stuff. Probably a bit more in the zeitgeist at the time I was growing up in the 90s, because you had the sort of Roswell Air Force report that came out that sort of tried to quash that whole thing, put it to bed. But you had the Ray Santilli film, Alien Autopsy film, later made into a film with Anton Deck.
Yeah, I saw that. Do you know what? I saw that at the cinema.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird because the whole film is about them recreating the footage that got destroyed, which doesn't really reinforce the reality of whether that footage even existed at all. And I saw Ray Santilli give a talk. He wasn't a very credible witness, so I've got to be honest. So I don't know what your take is on that whole debacle, but
I think there's something to it. I think those two guys, I don't know, they sort of seem like a little bit like players to me. Might be wrong, but they just sort of reek of they create a gem guys on it.
Look at this. One of the Outcasts Creative, there are many of us, is in the chat. The absolutely awesomely talented Melissa Stanton, actress, dog handler, etc. I mean, real dogs, not something involving, studded collars and bowls and such like. But yeah, and she was in the Anton Deck film. There you go.
Whoa, wild.
Doubled for the body of the dissected alien. I think not. Your audio keeps cutting out a little bit, mate. I think like the UFO people might be sort of like, when you're saying something important, they might be going in and like muting you.
What little
What? Just did it again. Keep talking.
Yeah, so got into it as a kid, obviously, and then, like everybody else, came around to it 2017 with the New York Times article that dropped that sort of exposed the government ATIP program, sort of that they were studying this, had been studying this, and it was accompanied shortly after by various from aircraft, Navy aircraft. So that kind of blew the lid, and people started coming out. There's a little bit of a trickle, and then a bit of an avalanche last year with the congressional hearings, and we're getting drips and drabs all the time. Like this whole thing, this whole topic, it's there's the excitement that comes, sort of, would say the congressional hearings is a whole load of press that comes out, excitement that dies eventually because, of course, the public can't tolerate a sort of myth or something like that that refuses to die, so they move on, and it's out of the news cycle. But I think looking back, for me, what convinced me or made me firmer in what I believe, I'm not like 100%, more sort of like 98, which is pretty certain, but never know. I think what convinced me was going back over the past 2.5 years, looking into the hardcore stuff, like this proper history, and reading lots of books and getting clued up. And I think that, as a whole, convinces. It's not one of those things. I don't necessarily think you can point to one specific thing and say that's the smoking gun, because it's not like that. It's kind of elusive and slippery and fraught with lots of different dangers, like disappearing down rabbit holes and things like that.
There's a bit of a collective smoking gun, though, isn't there? In the sense that when you put all the information together that's come out in, where are we now? 2024. So let's say, okay, 2017. So 7 years. 7 years, 7 people watching. Coincidence? Who knows? But if you put all of that together, the Tic Tac footage, the whistleblowers, other footage that's come out, older footage that's come out. There's the shot of the UFO hovering over the I can't remember if it's a missile installation or if it's an American Air Force base. I forget which. Very credible footage. Loads more airline pilots and people like that have started to come out now, because now there are people that are credible that are coming out from within the institutions that are, running these programs within the American government. People talking about bodies, people talking about not just one crash ship being retrieved, but many over the years. One of them the size of a football pitch. God knows where that's hidden.
Yeah.
It feels like the trickle that's going to turn into an avalanche, I hope. Now, you've just dropped this video today. It's 11 minutes long. It's already had over 1,000 views. I've put the link in the chat already. But what's great about it is you've had 10 comments on it already from people you don't know. All of them extremely positive. Incredible summary of the most credible cases and testimonies, etc., etc. I thought we should have a quick look at a bit of it. What do you think?
Yeah, and we could talk about it afterwards if you like.
Yeah. I don't know what the copyright permissions are on this footage, but I'm assuming
no flags. I mean, it is unlisted.
Yeah. Oh, your video's unlisted?
At the moment, I've just posted it on Reddit and just let.
Oh, okay. Wow.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
Here's the million-dollar question. Do you believe that a higher form of non-human intelligence has visited this planet? That extraterrestrial intelligence has visited planet Earth?
Non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new.
I think you can go a step further. It hasn't just visited, it's been here a long time.
If you had to assign a probability to that statement,
100%.
There's zero doubt.
You just need to look at what your government is doing right now about it.
Last August, the Pentagon set up the UAP task force to collect and analyze evidence.
We have identified some very, very interesting anomalous aircraft, we'll call them aircraft, displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory nor in any foreign inventory.
Multiple simultaneous sensor systems have seen these objects go from 50 feet to up to 14 miles and then back in less than a second. All right. I mean, that's just a truth.
It was just like a ping pong ball.
Like no predictable movement.
And just turns abruptly, then starts mirroring me. So as I'm coming down, it starts coming up. When it gets right in front of me, it just disappears.
And they wrote sworn written statements. It was a square plane the size of a football field silently floating over the launch pad.
There was a few times when no doubt in my mind that's not an adversary.
Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, extreme maneuverability, hypersonic velocities, positive lift, again, seemingly defying the laws of aerodynamics.
There's nothing we could build that would be strong enough to endure that amount of force and acceleration.
And this has been captured on radar.
Yeah.
Now, they're very careful what they say. They say, well, we have no evidence of ET. If you read between the lines on the flip side of it, it does stuff that we can't do. We know that the Russians and the Chinese are not doing. If we had a piece of any of this, even a tiny piece of knowledge from that could revolutionize what it is that we're doing. And then my experience with people who, frankly, I know have worked or are working on the reverse engineering programs.
okay, so let's take one step back. Reverse engineering program.
Do you solemnly swear
congressional
or
hearings.
affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
This is only
So help you God.
2023.
Maybe start off telling me your name and who you are.
My name is David Grush. I co-led the UAP portfolio for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment. What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
Mr. Grush, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
They're basing their opinions on the dozens of individuals who come forward and talk to them in classified settings.
There are people that have come forward to share information with our committee over the last couple of years.
People who have had firsthand knowledge of seeing this type of thing.
Or have firsthand knowledge or firsthand claims.
I know the people who were in the government legacy programs that oversaw both the crash retrieval and analysis of UAP data. And I'm very confident in these people, former intelligence, former DOD.
I understand some of these claims are things that are beyond sort of the realm of what any of us has ever dealt with. Most of these people at some point, or maybe even currently, have held very high clearances and high positions within our government. What incentive would so many people have to come forward and make something up?
You haven't been fed disinformation. It's a common thing in intelligence.
Yeah, I was very sensitive to that fact. You know, was this some kind of ruse against me? Am I being used in any kind of way? And I took about 4 years being very methodical before I filed my whistleblower complaint to be absolutely certain.
Does our government typically test advanced weapon systems right next to multi-million-dollar jets without informing our pilots?
No, we have test ranges for that. If the fastest plane on Earth was trying to do these maneuvers that you saw, would it be capable of doing that? No, not even close.
The reason why the Inspector General believed Mr. Grush was that he did his own investigations. He deposed own witnesses and asserted to the Congress that he believed his allegations were credible and urgent.
How does a program like that get funded?
Misappropriation of funds.
Does that mean that there is money in the budget that is set to go to a program, but it doesn't, and it goes to something else?
Yes.
Do you think U.S. corporations are overcharging for certain tech they're selling to the U.S. government, and that additional money is going to programs?
Correct. There's something called IRAD.
The evidence may be in the hands of corporations outside government. So, for example, I had a person who used to be a high-level official in Lockheed Martin visit my home. I said, what do you think about David Grush's testimony? You know, is it conceivable that Lockheed Martin, for example, has any materials? And he said, I would not say that it is wrong. And that surprised me.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program. I talked to people who are familiar with the biological analysis and everything. I brought the people who worked on that stuff to the Hill. They went into all those details, and I remember, some of the professional staff members were like, whoa, like they were like in G-Lock, right?
Trying to be protective of these people. Some of these people still work in the government. And frankly, a lot of them are very fearful.
Have you had incidences that have caused you to be in fear for your life?
Yes, personally. Okay. Yeah. There were certain colleagues of mine that were brutally administratively attacked. It actually makes me very upset to see that happen to other coworkers and actually superiors of mine over the last 3 years.
Why hasn't this leaked?
I guess ostensibly this has leaked like a sieve for decades.
I kept looking for their tails. They didn't have any tails. I thought, well, maybe something's wrong with my eyes.
There have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things, are in no way connected with any secret development by any department of the United States.
The Air Force is simply treating the American people like children. They don't trust them with the facts.
There would be no way of making a 90-degree turn 12,000 miles an hour or greater.
And you just can't do that in a fine.
I'm convinced that they're probably from another planet.
The weather balloon story never made sense.
Being an intelligence I was familiar with just about all materials used in aircraft and or air travel. This was nothing like that.
One that crashed in Kingman, Arizona. That's the first one that they took out to the test site.
I said, General, I know we have a room at Wright-Patterson where you put all this secret stuff. And I go in there, and I've never heard him get mad, but he got madder now at me.
Witness testimony from former or retired U.S. military personnel confirm beyond any doubt the reality of ongoing UFO incursions at nuclear weapons sites.
It sounds fantastic, and it is fantastic.
The object I saw was bright orangish red, like fire.
I saw this maroon color in the sky. There was this big ship. It was a silver oval thing. I saw a funny man with his eyes here, big black eyes. It had big eyes.
I saw a documentary on this
That's
encounter.
good because
Very
I've never
good.
seen such a person like that before.
I thought this was just rubbish from the tabloids, but I was surprised to find thousands of U.S. government documents from intelligence agencies that tended to indicate that there was a little bit more to this than met the eye.
Do you anticipate that any of the recovered vehicles would ever become available for technological research?
10 years ago, the answer would have been no. Whether in time has evolved, they're beginning to become more open on it.
There is some group of people somewhere that may or may not be associated with government at this point, but certainly were at one time, that have this knowledge.
The federal government all these years has put brake pads on everything. I think it's very, very bad for our country. What makes you think that this time is going to be different?
I mean, we're going to find out. There's a stigma on Capitol Hill.
You want me to risk my career talking about UFOs?
If you go back 15 or 20 years, if we were sitting here talking about UFOs, people would think that we were nutty. Now it's gotten to the level of where it is somewhat accepted.
It's a matter of time now. That genie's out of the bottle. It's just going to take a little more time legislatively.
For the first time, the National Archives will gather records from across the federal government on UAPs.
A requirement for the government to obtain any recovered UAP material or biological remains that may have been provided to private entities in the past and thereby hidden from Congress and the American people.
We will keep working. I want to assure the American people, Senator Rounds and I will keep working.
It's being put in the National Defense Authorization Act, and it's regarding unidentified flying objects.
Starting with Mr. Graves, why did you come forward on this issue?
I was trained as an aviation safety officer by the Navy. I felt that my colleagues did not have a way to mitigate this safety threat, and I wanted to help them.
I was pestered by a friend, and I asked why, and he said, "You're the one person that they can't discredit."
Mr. Grush.
I don't want to be 60, 70 years old and have that, coulda, shoulda, woulda feeling where I could have made a difference. I made the decision to leave my job and pursue this topic because it was the right thing to do. The image was of something that I am not able to attach to any human capability from the United States or from any of our adversaries. And I'm somewhat informed on the matter, having served on the Armed Services Committee for 7 years, having served on the committee that oversees advanced technologies.
This town isn't made, unfortunately, by people like y'all. I do want to also thank the people in the audience and the people that are watching this that can't be people all over the world that have kept this issue alive.
Well, so Alex, you've compiled all that stuff. How long did it take you to put all that together?
Couple of days. I mean, I started a and a half ago, just for fun, and also I sort of wanted a bit of something to send to someone instead of doing a whole sort of elevator pitch of condensed history lesson, just all impromptu. So I thought, well, if I put something together, then I can just send it and we can discuss afterwards if they sort of want to follow up on it. And I seem to have, I think, scratched a bit of an itch because I've got just like so many comments today from other people saying this is exactly what I was looking for to my sister, or that does a really good job of just telling everything up until now, or at least since 2017.
Yeah, I think it's a really good distillation of the factual, incontrovertible information that is out there. You can choose to believe or not to believe the people that are coming forward. If you choose not to believe them, you have to ask why they're coming forward. Now, of the people that are featured on your thing, I know there's a couple that are doing the rounds of various media and things, but they have to do that in order to get the message out there. But it's not like these people are signing multi-million-dollar book deals or shaking hands with Hollywood producers to make movies about this. I mean, the reporter rightly asked the question, why are you coming forward about this now? I don't want to get to 60 and regret that I could have made a difference for mankind. This is huge. This is life-changing. And I think with everything that's going on in the world right now, honestly, the best thing that could happen right now is that this thing should and could burst wide open, because when our world seems a bit smaller, we might all stop killing each other for a few minutes and start looking over there.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
I don't know. I mean, if they sign multi-million-dollar film deals and all that stuff, I mean, good on them. There's one Lou he featured right on the end. It was the CSB, something like that. It was.
Yeah, he's been around. He was one of the first, wasn't he, to come forward?
Yeah. So like, he's just got a new book out, but I mean, you sort of have to take him at his word that he released so he could spread the information more effectively. He put it through the DOSPA, which is like a pre-publication review by the DoD, where they sort of see, even if it's a fictional book, say you're releasing, if you're an intel officer or ex-intel officer, they'll sort of know, like, read your book just in case you sort of accidentally disclose something or touch, like, even maybe it's an analogy and it's too close to the bone. And the strategy has been with David Grush and Lou Elizondo is that they were if it was redacted, if they had the sort of the classic permanent marker lines, thick black felt tips through the text, they were going to post that. They were going to publish that so people could see kind of redacted and like read around it maybe a little bit. So that was a part of their strategy. I mean, it's hard to believe. Like, I'm not sure I believe it at times. I'm sort of back and forth, but
Mm.
I look at it as a sort of probability thing. You know, you have to, like I said, go over the history, which I've done in depth, like 2.5 years, to come to a sort of firmer belief in it all, because you can't point to just one case in isolation and say there it is, because it doesn't exist. It's the nature of this whole thing.
Yeah. One of the things that's, you know, because obviously a lot of people talk about Roswell. You know, was there a UFO? Wasn't there? I believe there was. I studied that subject from the age of 15. Bought every book that I could, some of which are terrible books. Especially one of the ones that came out very soon after, which turned out to be riddled with factual inaccuracies. But if you center on the known facts of Roswell, we know that the weather balloon stuff was bullshit. We know that the Project 16 or whatever that other thing was they claimed it was also bullshit. And we also know that, you know, the one guy who stepped forward, who's now dead, died of cancer, and said, look, you know, the materials that I had were not of this earth. That's enough for me. But the one that gets overlooked and was dismissed quite early on as a hoax, I think, as a result of misinformation, was the crash in Kingman in 1953. Quite a few documents that have come out recently that confirm that there was a crash, is my understanding. Now, you're the expert doing all the digging. What have you found out about Kingman? Anything to substantiate or look like it you know, did occur?
It's something I've sort of taken a cursory glance at. I know of it, sort of the bare basic details, the facts, but there's something interesting that Christopher Mellon, who was former executive, I believe he's in the video. He's very strongly sort of an advocate for disclosure. He's really trying to push it. He's from the sort of Mellon family, sort of dynasty, sort of very wealthy, politically powerful individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a Substack or a blog, and he posted about Kingman being one of the sort of bona fide shore crashes. I mean, there's Aztec. There are places in South America. This isn't a US centric thing.
No, indeed. I mean, some of the more credible cases, and there was the one in South Africa where there've been literally dozens upon dozens of witnesses, have largely been ignored. There was a huge UFO sighting in Nottingham in the early 90s. 2 craft the size of football pitches going over the outskirts of the city, seen by literally hundreds of people. People were phoning in radio shows, 999 calls. You know, that's something that you should probably follow up. Have you heard about that one?
On Strange But True. Remember that?
I mean, I just remember everyone talking about it not long after I moved up there. It had occurred right before I was there, and I met a couple of people who'd seen it, and everybody remembered it.
Well, I mean, like UK has got a rich history of this stuff. There's the Calvine sort of incident. Two hikers take several pictures of a diamond-shaped object being pursued by 2 RAF aircraft. The pictures in the video, actually. There's Wilson Forest thing. There's a sort of explosion, a crash that happened in Wales. There are sort of things, and MOD have released documents over the years, in-depth documents about sort of the radiological harm done to tissue and skin, and even, believe it or not, pregnancies occurring to people who are in close proximity or have experiences with these things. You know, they don't outright call it extraterrestrial or interdimensional or like UFOs or anything like that, but I mean, it's pretty obvious if you read it, if you bother to, what they're sort of talking about. It's very obvious.
Yeah, I think I mean, you know,
loads all over the world.
So the plan with the documentary, which is, I know, is a passion project of yours, you've been trying to make for quite a while now. Is it effectively what you're getting together is a collection of the facts into effectively a sizzle reel, and see if you can get the money to make the rest of it?
No, I just did that for the reasons I explained and for fun, just to do something to show.
Would that not be a sensible way forward, perhaps?
Yeah, possibly. I mean,
you and I are already experts at making films that make no money. So where we don't have a budget. So I was just thinking, you know, it might be good to for you to have one where you get to, you know, have a budget, and because this sort of documentary, you know, if you made a really good 90-minute documentary, someone like Amazon or Netflix or whoever would buy it, wouldn't they? Because
I don't know, but I mean, I'm not, you know, of course that crosses your mind as a sort of potential end goal, but if you fixate on the result, then it takes energy away from the process. So I'm not really, you know, I'm shit with that stuff as well. So I need an agent. But like the idea is, I think I'll probably do another few of these reels just because people have responded really well to it.
Well, I mean, I think you should. Yeah, I mean, if there's more, do a second one. I mean, if or, you know, do a re-edit and make it even longer.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not. This isn't on hold. There's stuff coming out every day. There's a Michael Schellenberger sort of article that came out. He's in contact with a whistleblower. There's more congressional hearings in November on the 16th. It's not like there's always stuff in the background every day. Drop it.
Have you seen the video footage? It was on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name. Funnily enough, somebody I used to play Xbox Live with turned me onto this, because, you know, when you're playing games of zombies running around to get your health packs and things, you talk about all kinds of random subjects, and one of the things we talked about quite frequently was UFOs, and he was like, you know, Melissa said she would come on, but the pug is snoring, so that might be a bit of a distraction. But yeah, he cited this guy, this whistleblower who'd come forward. This was in the 90s, and he said he worked on a base, was somewhere out in New Mexico.
Bob Lazar.
Well, this guy's dead. Is Bob Lazar dead? No, right. So the guy I'm talking about is dead. And he came out and said he worked on this base, because I remember I told you I was pitching you that script called Level 7, and I the whole basis for that script came from this conversation, came from this video. And so he said, you know, and this could well be in the realms of fantasy, but the guy when the guy gave evidence at whatever convention it was, he was very credible. There was a number of things that he said that made him credible. You'd need to look at the video. The video is quite long, so like a complete recording of him at the convention. And he said that they were working with another race of aliens, and not everybody was in agreement with what they should or shouldn't be doing with the humans. And he said one of the things that happened was that a firefight broke out on the base and a number of people were killed. And I thought, oh my God, that's such a great idea for a movie. And I've written a treatment, really should bash out a script for it. But yeah, does that ring bells?
The dude with one arm.
can you do you know the name?
Yeah, I could probably find it. I know of it. It's the guy. It wasn't Area 51. It was somewhere else. It was
No,
below.
it wasn't Area 51. It was a place no one had ever heard of. I'll hang on. Let me have a quick. So UFO whistleblower, one arm. Worked on. Let's see if we can put something into Michael Googler. Now, the only one that's coming up is Bob Lazar, who Wormy Spoons in the thing is saying, have you guys seen any Bob Lazar interviews? Also, my UFO encounter gets mentioned in my new book, by the way, when I talk about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So,
sure.
Duncan Hooper, who I've not seen in my chat before, at least if I have, I've forgotten, Duncan, please forgive me, but good to see you on here. When UFOs are spotted in the US, although they are not always connected with Area 51, but Area 51 is a one and hotspot, and especially an origin for UFOs. Is there a UK equivalent? Yeah, East Anglia was the hotspot for UFO sightings, and also the peninsula of Cornwall, two places where there's a lot. In fact, we saw some very unusual light formations when we were down filming in Cornwall. First, we thought they were, you could see planes flying over to the United States or wherever they were going. But then there was one that kind of like that stopped and then kind of went down and then sort of went back a bit. And it's just like this light that kept moving, and I kept saying to everybody, just watch that one. What's that doing? That's not a star. That's moving, but it's not going. It's not moving out. It keeps coming back, and could have been a helicopter, I guess, really far away, maybe. But didn't look like it. There was a couple of them as well. There were two of them. It was joined by another one after a while, and they were sort of like dancing about and whatnot. So. Wormy Spoon says Bob Lazar comes across as very credible. So, so he's another whistleblower, still alive.
Still alive, yeah.
Supposedly worked at Area 51.
Show that there's a lot of contention around him because some shady stuff. About sort of not forging but lying about credentials. People have jumped to his defense saying that, well, everybody was lying about their degree. I think he claimed MIT he studied at,
right.
Which his own explanation is research for the government, and it was something that was unethical. So he didn't. I don't think he got credited for it. Like a degree or something, but maybe he just lied about it to get a job. What we do know is he worked at Los Alamos National Labs, and then we've got his story, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, I'm reading it now. There's a Wikipedia page on him for anybody who doesn't know who Bob Lazar is. That's fairly detailed. What's interesting is that they've made sure on the page it's flagged up that he ran a prostitution ring in 1990. But I bet if you dig away at that, I bet he probably sort of rented a spare room to a couple of people who he probably found out later were working girls or something. Oh, that means he ran a prostitution ring. It would be something like that. Alex, the UFO people have muted you again. You need to check your audio.
Hello.
Yeah,
hello.
That's it. Say what you said again.
Is
that you're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out a bit.
Hello.
FBI.
Testing 1 2 3.
Yeah, keep talking.
Right. La 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 1 2 3 4. So apparently there's a skeptic group. I forget the name, but who are hell bent on. They don't believe in any of this stuff, and their sort of mission is sort of a righteous one, I suppose, if you're them in their shoes, which is to quash all of this quackery and woo and misinformation and bullshit. And what they do is actually they edit the entries of Wikipedia. I mean, they talk about doing this on their forum. It's quite open that they do this. And I suppose, like, introduce things that probably akin to character assassination, or they play down the more positive aspects of, say, somebody's career if they're from the military. Living. So there's that. I mean, it's, so I don't really go to Wikipedia for that. It's weird.
Yeah.
I'm not. I stopped believing in conspiracy theories. I used to love them because it was a good ghost story. You come away and it's like, oh, is it? Isn't it? It was like fascinating as a kid. I remember sort of watching Loose Change and Zeitgeist, getting sweaty palms, and just be like, oh my god, is it? But I got out of the whole thing, I suppose, in my sort of early 20s, and then returning to it now, it is a minefield because none of this stuff, you never get information, never get something that is absolutely concrete. You get a whole rich history and body of evidence together, which is compelling. But it's difficult because, if you assume point A is true, that we are not, then everything that's already fantastical and mind-bending. It's not stretched then to go to all the other levels and all the other rabbit holes and believe all the other stuff, because you don't know. And I guess you're in that sort of vulnerable, curious state of mind.
What's your opinion of Timothy Good, British UFO?
Yeah.
He's sort of one of the main characters, isn't he? He's been sort of cited as being Britain's leading UFO researcher. I don't know what the basis is for having that qualification. Although I imagine years of research. How does a historian become a historian? Years of research, reading through documents. So
Above Top Secret is, I guess, the book he wrote.
I've got that book. I mean, do you think he's a credible researcher?
Yeah, as credible as they come, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah, he'd be a good person to get on here for an interview sometime if I can.
Get him on, man.
Yeah, that would be interesting to talk to him. I have a feeling that Bob Lazar probably won't be around that much longer.
No, he's not a target. If you're sort of alluding to potential wet works, I don't think he's a target.
No. I think his health probably.
Right.
But we'll see. He's not a young man, so
no.
Yeah. Well, it would be interesting to see what happens. In other related news, Josh Brolin is going to be in the new Running Man film. There you go. Slightly irrelevant, but still interesting. Duncan Hooper's asked, do either of you guys have an experience that makes you in doubt, believe in UFOs, aliens, or visiting higher intelligence? I'm in two minds as I haven't had an experience. Yeah, I mean, mine's not an amazing one, apart from the one I just mentioned where we saw the weird lights off of Cornwall when I was shooting a movie. But the cameras that we had were not like the cameras today. You couldn't film stuff at night, and these lights were very far away. I'm not even sure we had the camera kit with us, actually. I don't think we did. I think we'd finished filming for the day, gone for dinner, and then we were all like walking along the coast. Very, very clear night. And that's when we saw them. and they were not performing like planes, and if they were helicopters, they were very far out at sea, so which I think is extremely unlikely, and they would have been projecting a light down onto the ocean, which they were not doing. So they were definitely unusual. The more interesting one was when I was in detention with Matthew Soul. What's this? What's that?
UFOs ate your homework, did they?
No, no. It's very funny. No, we were. If you got detention at this school, you had to sit in the lunch lounge, right, during the lunch break. Because what would happen is we would all eat lunch on site. Food was provided. Food was fucking awful, by the way, and then it would be the lunch break, and everybody would go out and run around in the playground. I can't remember why me and Matthew Soul were in detention, but we were. This would have been probably about 1978, so it was definitely after Star Wars had come out, but not. But before Close Encounters of the Third Kind had come out, so it was kind of in that interim period. And it was a very, very bright blue, clear day with a small scattering of clouds, and that room had these huge bay windows, so you could see. You had quite a good view, and we were on a hill, and there was a row of houses opposite us because we were on a street, but we could see the sky above those houses for some way, and we were both sort of sitting there. We had to be quiet. You weren't really supposed to have a conversation. You had to sort of sit opposite each other. So he was on one side of the bay window, I was on the other side. I was kind of looking that way, right to left, and he was sitting to my right, looking right, looking the reverse. And I suddenly said to him, "What's that?" And I sort of pointed up at the sky, and crossing our view from right to left was this completely circular white disc, which was reflecting. It was glinting in the sun. What was really weird about it was that it deliberately moved to avoid the clouds, like the clouds were rocks. It actually flew around them, which was really bizarre. You would expect it to have sort of gone behind them at some point. There weren't a lot of clouds. They were just small, but wherever they were, it flew around them. It almost like bounced on them. And that was what made it really strange. And it was moving pretty quickly, but we got to watch it for quite a while, probably about half a minute, because the sky was so clear and we could see so far, and we were on a hill and yada, yada, yada. And we thought about going to get one of the teachers, but I mean, within, 30 seconds, this thing was out of our sight. It weren't no plane. It weren't no weather balloon, apart from the fact that the UK didn't have weather balloons, didn't use them for those purposes in that time over London. It wasn't a balloon. It wasn't a windy day. Perfect, no wind. So, yeah, I'll never forget that. And we told people about it. No one believed us. They all thought we were making it up. And I remember bumping into Matthew years later. I was working at the cinema and in Kingston, and I said to him, do you remember that time we saw that object? Oh God, yeah, never forgot that. Strange that, wasn't it? And the funny thing was we went to see Close Encounters of the Third Kind for his birthday a few months later, and the reason that we both wanted to go and see it so much was because we'd seen this thing, and we both thought, this is gonna give us some answers. This movie probably gave us more questions than anything. And then there was another friend of mine who saw one that was kind of long and black, more like the cigar thing, but that was rotating, and he saw it between two houses. I don't know how credible that was. My dad also saw one, I can't remember if it was just before or just after World War II. It wasn't during the war. It was one side of the war or the other. And he said that what we saw was very similar to what he saw. And also, if you research UFO sightings and just look at the general descriptions, there are dozens that match the description of what me and Matthew saw. And I mean, okay, circular, completely circular white. I know it's not particularly unique, but the way that it moved and the fact that it caught the sun and just the little details in the sightings were all very similar. There's a couple of comments here. Wormy Spoons is writing an entire essay on UFOs in my chat. All good. Phalanx 68, who I've not seen in the chat before. Aliens with the ability to travel through space would consider us slightly smarter animals. Well, indeed. Yeah, that was a detention worth getting. Absolutely. I never forget it. I remember.
You've not told me that before.
I'm sure I did.
I can't.
Sure.
Maybe.
Sure I did. When you first told me you were talking about doing the documentary, do you know what? I probably said to you, well, I've seen one, but we were probably in the middle of doing something and you probably didn't interrogate me about it. And I probably said, I'll talk to you about it later. And, oh, well, I've told everybody now because we're live on YouTube. I'll probably get all kinds of silly comments. But it's, true story. It's not a particularly exciting UFO encounter. It was very far away. It was extremely high up because it was the same height that you would see airplanes. And we did see an airplane. We saw an airplane just before it. And we saw an airplane not that long after it because they had a flight path that would go over within view of these windows. Look, certain Hollingdale's in the house. Yeah, so it's interesting. And I got very into the subject after that, and then there wasn't very many books. Don't forget, we're talking the late 70s, and one of the first books that I got on the subject, because I was so sort of into it, and my parents were like, okay, well, we'll let's go to the bookshop, and I was like, have you got any books on UFOs? And there's this book called there it is. People are going to recognize this because for a while this was like all you could get. And it was like the Osborne's big book of UFOs, it was called. Someone's actually done a YouTube video on it, funnily enough. Oh my god, cookies. No, I'm not accepting the cookies. Go away. So Alex has just dashed to the bathroom. He's back.
My first book.
Was this one, mate? Do you remember this book?
No, it wasn't that. It was. I haven't got it. I did pick this one up not long after.
I'm not I've got that.
Classic.
Yeah. I'm not recommending you buy this. This is for children, But this was the first book I got on UFOs. But what was interesting about it was that it listed it was really a breakdown of a whole load of sightings with some drawings, and then a lot of those sightings were recounted with slightly more detail in the Unexplained magazine, which week by week would build up into a huge pile of nonsense on your living room floor. And I used to be a subscriber to that until it got a bit too silly and expensive. But it was an interesting gateway for the youth in me to learn about some of the things that people had seen. And then I've seen some of the credible footage that I've seen certainly matches what I saw previously. There's something called, have you heard about this? Jack Osborne's Night of Terror. What's all that about? TV special. Is he Ozzy Osbourne's son?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Does anybody in the chat know about this? I'd quite like to know what this is about. Is it worth seeing? Presumably he's recounting some kind of personal encounter. Don't know who that is. No, so so let's see if there's any maybe there's some reviews. 3 user reviews. Let's have a look. 1 out of 10, oh dear. 2 out of 10, oh dear. 7 out of 10, the interest is sincere.
That was Kelly.
Right. Yeah, I think it's kind of, why did they pick these people to make this show? Yeah, maybe not the most credible people to be making a UFO show. Melissa of the Outcasts Creative firm, lifetime member, just so she's got like 5 gold stars next to her membership badge as well. I used to babysit for a friend of mine's dad who told me she saw a craft taking off from a field somewhere near us in Farnham. Yeah, I heard somebody else talk about a sighting like that in Farnham. I wonder if that was Jake or there's a Danny Dyer documentary apparently. That's a good laugh. So the other thing I wanted to mention before we activate transporters was show me that book again, by the way. Hold it up to the screen. I'm gonna enlarge you for a moment. Right, yeah. So Charles Berlitz. So that book is the one that's got a lot of inaccuracies in it.
Yeah.
He talks about like some witnesses that he interviewed that it just all turns out to be bullshit. He was a bit of a Walter Mitty kind of researcher, really. I think he found a few nuggets of truth and embellished the rest. And that book's got a lot of padding as well. Got a lot of padding.
Best one is.
Cheers, Duncan. Great to see you on the channel, mate. Thanks for subscribing and supporting the channel. Do check out my interview on Thursday. I'm interviewing Danny Lyons, who's going to be a really interesting character. 7 p.m. Sorry, Alex, go on.
I was going to say the best one is called Witness to, and it's by Don, and they've just updated it a few years ago with even more testimony. It's really comprehensive. I got 200 witnesses in first and second hand. So,
and that's a book.
Yeah, you can download it. I got mine on Kindle, so I read it digitally.
Is it available in paperback?
Yeah.
Just hang on. I'm gonna just have a look, get that now. What's the name of it again?
It's called Witness to Roswell.
I might have this actually. I think I've got this book. Oh no, I haven't got the 75th anniversary edition. Witness to Roswell: Unmasking the Government's Biggest Cover-Up. And then there's a revised and expanded edition as well. I'm not sure which one is That's most up to date.
Get the expanded one.
The expanded one with the red bar along the top. 4.5 stars out of 5, 307 written reviews. Actually, so I don't think I have got that. So, so going back to what was available for us kids in the 70s, there was another program that came out, and I used to rush home from school to see it because it was on about 4 o'clock. And we'd get out of school at like 3:45. I had to jump on a bus, and if I was lucky and I caught the bus there and then, I might just get back in time to see it. and this was called Project UFO. Don't know if you've ever seen this. Every episode of it's got like 2 clean-cut American US Air Force officers traveling around the United States investigating reports. And they basically they're based on actual cases, and
these are unidentified flying objects.
there you go. And one of the cases is always solved and proven to like not be a UFO.
We are being visited by civilizations.
One is usually proven to be a deliberate fake, and then one is usually kind of, oh well, maybe, and it's sort of like unsolved, you know. I don't want to show too much of that because we might suddenly get a copyright flag and get taken off air. Yeah, but that was there's 2 seasons of this, and there's a lot of I think there's about 15 episodes in each one, something like that. But they are based on real cases, which is quite interesting. It's all very cheesy and, you know, hammy acting and whatnot, and it's not high production value. But hey, you know,
dude, I'm gonna have to shoot off.
Yeah, I know. I got the message. I was just leading into that. So I just want to thank Alex Tabrizi, PhD, CSE, O level.
GSE.
Yeah. BULLSHIT. Degree of. No, so but I'm being facetious, but actually the reason I wanted to talk about this subject is because it's a subject now that I really take seriously. It's no longer that silly bit at the end of the news. Do you know what I mean? That you know, and in other news today, some children saw some funny lights in the sky. It's not being treated like that anymore, which is good. And you know, I think it's good that it's being treated seriously. And I think we need momentum. We need more people, more YouTubers talking about it. You know, talking about the subject. I've got somebody on my Facebook who said that they had an encounter. I might bring them on. So to replace Alex. Anyway, so I'll send them the link. All right, so Alex, what can people do to help your documentary become a reality before you go?
Nothing at the moment. If you
Watch
want
that
to
video, surely the minimum they can do is watch the video, share the video.
to circulate the video, that I'd be very grateful. Give the momentum to keep doing them. I mean, as I got a lot of good feedback from this, and as I say, I really just did it to as an elevator pitch to sort of onboard people quickly rather than stand and talk at them in a hallway and share that. I haven't really got much of a channel, but got one video as of today. Welcome to subscribe, and I'll do.
Mate, you can just upload them on my channel. We'll have a separate UFO playlist.
All right.
You know, if you don't want to have to wait too long to do it, that can take a bit of a while. But it's up to you, man. But for those people that are watching, Alex and I have worked together many times, and yeah, I know Breezy's audio is awful. What you need to understand, Darryl, is that the FBI are listening in and they're cutting out all the juicy stuff. So, but anyway, all right. Well, listen, mate. I know you've got to work tomorrow, back at the Roswell lab, so to speak. But great to have you on. And I'm doing another one of these on Thursday, late night with Lancey. So if you want to pop on, you can. And the Nielsen ratings every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. That'll be tomorrow night. So, you know, you're always welcome to pop on. All right. So I'm going to let Alex go, guys. I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer. But thanks very much. See you soon, bud.
Cheers, mate.
Bye. All right. So Alex Tabrizi, if you've watched my film, The Journey, Alex was the only crew member who was on every single shoot on every single day. We did about 5 shoots to 2 of 2 weeks, and I think 3 of 2 days each. And Alex was the only crew member that was on literally on all of those. I've had a friend contact me on Facebook who says they've had a pretty difficult encounter. I have sent them the link. Oh, okay, cool. They're here. Let me just yeah, so mate, I can see you're in the green room. You can turn your camera off if you don't want to come on camera. It's up to you. And if you don't want your name to be the same, I can change it. So if you want me to change your name, give me a thumbs up. If you're happy to stay where you are, that's fine. All right, okay. All right, well, I'm going to bring Danny on then. Hopefully your audio will work, mate. Let's see.
Hello?
Hi, Dan. Yes, I can hear you. Great.
Oh, good.
How are you? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Whenever I feel a bit restless, I always just jump online and decide to do a stream. For those people who haven't met Danny before, because he hasn't been on my channel before, Danny is one of my raving buddies. So normally he'll be, out sort of doing stuff like this with me. That kind of thing. So that's normally when we hang out. But anyway, we're not talking about raving tonight. That's Thursday. So yeah, you wanted to talk about well, you said Alex and I were talking about UFO experiences. My one is sort of fairly standard, see something in the sky that you don't quite understand, but definitely wasn't a plane, definitely wasn't a weather balloon. So, the question remains, what was it? How comfortable do you feel talking about yours?
I don't mind. I've told people in the past, and a lot of people just laugh at me and say, no, we don't believe you.
Just remind you, we're live on YouTube, so don't say anything that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's why I gave you the option of being off camera if you wanted. Bit late now though. But
I do. The problem is, I remember things like it happened yesterday, but
right.
I don't remember things in the right order, and I think I've blocked a lot of it out as well. I don't remember the actual ages when it happens, and the actual times it happened. You know what I mean? But I do remember it happening.
Okay.
In intervals through my life after the first UFO experience.
Right.
Basically, I was a young kid.
Right.
Probably between the ages of, well, it was in the 70s anyway, in the early 70s.
Right.
So I was born in 67.
Okay, you're a little bit older than me.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember. Do you remember they used to get the plastic kiddies like binoculars?
Yes, I do. I had several.
But they was actually quite good. You could adjust them and all sorts, and you could see quite well through them.
There were two. There were 2 makes of them. There were one that was like really cheap and really naff, and then there was a slightly nicer, posher one that was like a couple of quid more that actually you could see quite a long way. So you're probably talking about that one had like the adjustable ring in the middle.
Yeah, that's what they were. Yeah. They were like a green colour. I always remember them. I went out one evening, and it's literally just walking around the back alley. So it's like it's not even a 3-minute walk. It's less than 3 minutes. It's literally walked down the bottom of the alley, and I was looking up in the sky, and I was using these binoculars for the first time, and this thing appeared in the sky, And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, am I really seeing this? And it was all different colours on it, and it was getting closer and closer and closer. It was literally hovering in the sky, literally a few hundred feet. Well, it looked like a few hundred feet away from me. It wasn't.
Where were you living at that time? Was this in a city or was this rural or what?
Yeah, it's rural. Well, sort of. Yeah, there's lots of houses around. It's sort of like an estate.
Whereabouts?
But with like a bit of grassland behind it. Do you know what I mean? In the middle of all the houses,
like a green belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's like basically it's an old orchard.
Right.
So we used to call it a dump. People used to dump rubbish and stuff there. You know, it's just basically a back alley that went through the housing estate, but there's quite a bit of land. You know, we used to play there when we was kids and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I was just standing there, I'm just looking at this thing through the binoculars, and I remember, you know, am I seeing this right? And I'm looking at it through using my eyes, and it's there. It's definitely there, and I could see it all different colours. It wasn't saucer shaped. It was like a triangle.
Right.
And it was silent, not making any noise at all. It was hard to judge the size of it and how far away it was from me, because it was sort of in the air between the houses. You know what I mean? So it was like in an open space. But it was it hovered there for a while. Then it split up into 3 pieces. I'll always remember this. And the 2 smaller pieces went up to either the side, and all 3 pieces were hovering. And I was looking at it. I was just like, you know, I was shocked basically. And then all of a sudden they went back together, and it shot off. Anyway, I went running back home to tell my mum and dad, like, because I was in a bit of a shock. And I got indoors, and they started screaming and shouting at me and saying, "Where have you been? You've been gone for ages."
Right.
So they reckon I've been gone for near enough 2 hours. But to me, I'd just walking down to the back alley, watch this thing for a few minutes, and then run back home.
Did you tell them what happened after they'd finished shouting?
Yeah, they never believed me. I always remember now. I feel emotional now talking about it. I just cried because they just thought I was, you know.
So you had that experience of lost time.
Yeah,
that's quite.
But I didn't realise all this till later on in life, where I started seeing things about UFOs and other people experiencing stuff.
There's a couple of reports that are definitely very similar to that. There's even footage of something, one craft and 2 other things. I can't remember. You know, that, I mean, obviously now with footage, it's so difficult to tell what's been faked and what hasn't, and people will just create and fake stuff for a laugh, you know, which is annoying. But but I seem to remember, and I'd have to do some digging, that this piece of footage was reasonably credible. But there are certainly verbal reports that are very, very similar to what you've just described.
Yeah.
Very, very similar.
Yeah, I've seen you know, I've seen a few things and stuff, because I was into the unexplained and things like that when I was younger.
Yeah, remember that magazine, The Unexplained?
Yeah, that's the one I had. I had the full lot. I had the whole thing.
God, that must have been like a massive pile in your bedroom. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I had it for years. I remember in the end, I think I sold it at a boot fair.
Yeah, that it could be quite good, but it didn't have a lot of bollocks in it as well.
Yeah, that's the problem.
It had a lot.
As you say, it's too big to, you know, it took up a lot of space.
Yeah, they did an episode on the picnic at Hanging Rock. They did an issue about that, about the girls disappearing and stuff. That's all like an old wives' tale. It's not even a reality that happened. You know, it's a myth. There's never been any substantiated factual information about any girls disappearing from that school. I think the only thing that's accurate is that the school closed. That's all.
Yeah, I think some people did go missing up there apparently, but
Yeah, but I don't think it was actually from the school or whatever. And
No, I don't think it was actually like schoolgirls, but I think it was sort of known like that even by the Aboriginals apparently.
Yeah, so they took they took some sort of folk legends and stuff, and basically Peter Weir wrote a fictional movie about it, and then some researcher at Unexplained magazine thought it was all based on a factual story and wrote this massive article about it. And I was reading it. I already knew the truth by then. I was reading it, and this is bollocks. This person hasn't researched this properly at all. So they had some really good stuff in there, but they had some less than credible stuff. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, have you ever had any kind of flashbacks to that episode, or PTSD type stuff?
Yeah, I suffer from PTSD. I suffer from depression and anxiety.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because my PTSD is a challenge, shall we say. I even had a flashback during the day today. But I'm getting there with it. It's just a lot better than it was a year ago.
That's good.
So I'm slowly getting there. But listen, man, that's quite a brave thing that you did, coming on talking to me about that. It's a shame Alex couldn't hang around because I know he's got to get up really early for work. But no doubt he'll watch the playback. But yeah, it's pretty commendable, mate, you coming on and
it's a bit a bit anxiety for me, but I thought I've got to do this. Do you feel better? I'm so passionate about it.
Do you feel better for talking about it?
Yeah, to someone who believes, yeah.
Oh, I think, to be honest,
but that's just the tip of the iceberg, mate. For after 20 years or so after that, I was getting visits in my bedroom by things. I was being teleported out of my bedroom window.
So, okay, so you're saying that this was a recurring thing?
Yeah, and I thought all these years, I was just dreaming. But there was one time where I had physical evidence on my body.
Did you go to the doctors or the hospital about that?
No. I told my mum and dad, but they just laughed and said, like, you're just making it up.
So this is still when you were relatively young?
No, up until I was in my mid-20s, I suppose.
Right.
That's when it finished. I think roughly, I'm trying to think, it's hard to remember because there's a lot of going on in them years,
Yeah. So what?
I also going back to when I was younger, I went to boarding school, and we was in a dormitory, and I had an experience then, and we all experienced it. So it wasn't just me.
What happened there?
Well, it's a big room. It's a big old sort of Victorian house, or older than Victorian, but it's a big dormitory with about 12 people in it. We all slept. Right. We all stayed in this dormitory, and we had these heaters full of bricks. I don't know if you know the old heaters that were full of bricks.
Yeah, vaguely remember them. I mean,
metal heaters, and they're full of bricks, and they just heat up, and then the bricks hold the heat. Basically, we had them in the room. Anyway, we was in this room. We was all mucking about, and there was this noise over the top of our room, like, and the whole room started vibrating, even these heaters. And we were all sort of panicking, and do you know what I mean?
But what did you was that more of a supernatural thing, or?
Well, it was just like a noise from outside and a vibration and these bright lights coming through the main windows.
Oh, right. Okay. Damn, man. That's a lot for any person to process, let alone, So what, I mean, in terms of just like when I do this late night stuff, a frequent topic is mental health. I don't know if you saw the one we did a few days ago where I was talking about that.
No.
How I had a friend who was, not in good shape, and I was extremely worried about them. So we were talking about, you know, what do you do in that situation when you're worried about somebody, and the main piece of advice I was able to impart to people was, you've got to tell them they have value. You know, make them feel value, make them feel like they have things to contribute to the world, to you, to your friendship with them, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Remind them how much they would be missed if they did anything silly. I've had my own battle with I feel like I've been in the battle of my life in the last 5 years, because just like so many things happened in such a short space of time, with both my career and my personal life, and just various different things. I've written blogs about it. I'm not going to talk about it here, but people can read them. Yeah, it was a real, you know, just getting back to an even keel where I am now. That was a real fight. So I suppose my question to you is, what are you doing to, you know, to protect yourself, to keep yourself, I don't want to use the term straight and narrow, that's a bit misleading, but, you know, just kind of, do you know what I mean? Keep grounded, get through the day.
It's a struggle, mate, to be honest with you. It's a big struggle for me.
But the raving, going dancing must help, right?
Oh yeah, raving definitely opened up, you know, new experiences and stuff, and the music.
So what was the first? Let's talk about that for a bit. What was the first event that you and I met at earlier this year?
Oh, that was Ministry of Sound, wasn't it?
So that would have been Frantic.
Was it Frantic? I can't remember. My memory's terrible.
It was Frantic was in. I think Frantic was in June. That would have been. I think that was the 4th event that I went to. I was there with my friend Aisha, who's a black girl, really short hair. If that rings bells. In fact,
Yeah.
I think I've got a picture of us together at that event I can put up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was that one. It was that event.
Yeah, that was because it was quite sort of. It wasn't massively hardcore, but it was perhaps a bit
trance, wasn't it?
Yeah, trance-ish, and I mean, I liked it. I think for her, it was a bit. It could have been a bit more dancey. Would have been more up her street.
Yeah,
but
a bit more housey.
I just been to the Orange birthday reunion. And at Coco, which was just like this phenomenal event. I mean, that was just unbelievable. I don't know what it was about that event, but everything just worked. And I was down the front dancing for God knows how long. I sort of befriended this group of girls, you know, as you do, random people. There was a group of them there, and it was like we were all kind of looking out for each other, going to fetch each other water and that kind of thing. Which was nice. I'll see if I can find that photo. That was, for me, that was the best event until I went to Peach. Were you at Peach at Coco? Their 31st birthday event?
I don't think so, mate. No, I haven't been out for a while because I've not been too good. I've had a bad foot and stuff, so and my knee as well. I've got knee problems, so
damn.
I've been resting up. But my next one's, I think my next one's Ministry.
Which event?
In November 9th.
Let me have a look, see if I don't think I'm out that day. I think that's one of the few days no, my friend's got something called Raveolution in Brighton where she's actually DJing, but it's on in the evening. I can't because I'm going out on the Sunday for like a social day out with my friend Fiona. So that's the only day I'm not out. The following weekend I'm at the Rain Dance all day at Heaven. The weekend after that I'm at Peach and Strawberry Sunday at Fabric. The weekend after that I've got my movie quiz. Mate, you're in London, aren't you?
Yeah, well, just outside, yeah.
Whereabouts?
Well, I'm in Kent, Bexley.
Okay, so I've got a couple of mates who are coming up from Kent to come to my movie quiz on the 30th of December. If you want to come, you can come. It's at my flat. It's during the day on a Saturday. Starts about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which gives you plenty of time to get up. Wraps up between sort of 6 and 7. So
Yeah,
sort of
sounds good.
It's a bit like an all-day rave, except you're sitting around watching movie clips. You remember Screen Test?
Screen Test.
Yeah, remember, you know, you remember that
Yeah, who
children's
done it?
TV?
Who hosted it?
Oh, I can't remember now. Let me find. They'll find a clip of it. There'll be a clip of it on YouTube somewhere,
Yeah,
won't there?
Screen Test. I do. Yeah, it does ring a bell.
Well, basically, my movie quiz. I've been doing this for 27 years now, and we divide up into 2 teams, and the 2 teams are normally captained by 2 of my closest friends. One of them, Sharon, unfortunately, has moved up to back to Nottingham to be with her parents, one of whom's not particularly well, and then the other one, me and them are not talking at the moment, so which is actually a source of real annoyance. This is hang on, I've got the theme now. I want the opening. I want an actual clip of the show. There's like the very first episode of it, which would have been 1970, so that's before my time. But yeah, this is the show when it was on, because it ran from I think it ran from like 1970 until something like 1981. There you go. You remember it's 2 teams of kids. I'm just going to mute it for a second. And this guy was presenting it when I watched it, so he must have done it from the very beginning. You got this sort of 2 teams of different kids, and it's like, right now we're going to watch some clips of movies, kids, and they show you a clip which you can watch as well, and you can try and answer the questions as well as at home, which was fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name. I recognise he looks really young there.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, it might be in the blurb actually. I wonder if he's still around. He's probably Michael Rodd. That was it. Michael Rodd.
Michael Rodd. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Rodd. I wonder what happened to him. I mean, he's probably passed away, hasn't he? But at least, unlike everybody else from that era, he's not sort of like come up later for kiddie fiddling or whatever. No, he's still alive. He's 80.
Is he?
Yeah, he's 80 and he's still alive. Oh, you know what? If he was compos mentis, it'd be great to get him on for an interview. I'd love to do that. Yeah, the other thing he used to do is he used to present Tomorrow's World. He was one of the 3.
That's what I'm thinking of, Tomorrow's World.
Yeah.
I used to love that program.
Yeah, because he covered all the the early footage of the space shuttle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Easy Lemon Squeezy, I've been pretty good, thank you. Melissa Stanton, who's one of the Outcasts Creative, is in the chat. Never had a UFO experience, but lots of supernatural experiences. Well, you do sleep with a snoring dog, Melissa, as well, so that will probably contribute towards those. Yes, he's still alive. He is still alive. 80, still alive. Yeah, so we do that. We do that every year, and there's a potential big prize because we have scratch cards that we give out to both teams, and the team that wins the most points gets more scratch cards, shall we say, than the team that doesn't. Yeah, Clint Eastwood, 94 and still alive. So Danny, did you manage to catch the footage that Alex has cut together of all the credible stuff? Did you see that when we first streamed tonight?
No. Oh, what about UFOs?
Yeah.
No, I see a few bits and pieces of it. I was just like scrolling through Facebook and I noticed your thing come up and I clicked on it and it, come up UFOs and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize Lance was a believer.
I am a believer. I mean, first of all, apart from the fact that I saw one, which definitely wasn't a plane, it would be absolutely nonsense to think that, in all the time that the Earth's been here, it's never been discovered or visited by other aliens. But I mean, even if I didn't believe that, I do believe the people that are coming forward. I do believe the witnesses are credible. you only have to look through that compilation of footage. Even Barack Obama is there saying he's seen the reports about crashed UFOs. He was asked that question a lot of time when he was in office, by the way, and he would never give an answer why he was in office. He only did it when he was no longer president. Because he could have been impeached for breaching national security while he was president, something like that. He could have, you know, he was only able to do it once he no longer had any political ambition. But I think by now he's probably at the point where he doesn't really care. So I do think that, you know, I really, my big hope in our lifetimes, Danny, is that this all busts open. That's what I want to see.
There's so much coming out now that even Congress has got together, haven't they, and talked about it.
There's two things I want to see in my lifetime. One is the truth that comes out about all the things that have happened in the past. We know that there have been several crash retrievals. We know that there have been retrievals of bodies of more than one species of aliens. We know that America has got craft. We know Russia has got craft. All of this stuff is out in public domain now. You just need to know where to look. I want to see a manned landing on Mars. That's the other thing I want to live to see, because that's going to happen. I think, you know, people are going to go on that first mission knowing that they're never coming home. So that's gonna take certain kind of individuals. I don't know if you watch a TV show called it's by one of the guys behind Star Trek: The Next Generation, For All Mankind, and it's
is that the what's it? The bloke you play Kirk.
It's not. It's not William Shatner. It's
Shatner, that's it.
It's a science fiction TV show about which is a sort of historic fiction of what would have happened if we'd stayed on the moon and built a base there, and would that have meant in turn we would have got to Mars a bit faster, and it examines what happened if Russia put a woman in space very early on. What would have America's reaction been? Well, they would have been forced to put women in the space program a lot sooner. So it kind of follows that narrative. And you know, when I was watching season 1 of it, I thought, this looks like it's going to be another woke show. You know, doing a lot of box ticking and all that. Stick with it. It's fucking awesome. It's such it's such a good show. I think there are 4 seasons out, and by season 4, we're on Mars. You know, and it's not just that it's really good writing and I like the characters. It's actually that everything in it is quite plausible. You know, it feels real. It feels like this stuff could have happened if we'd done certain things differently, if we'd made certain decisions differently, for example. So. I think it's. I think you'd probably quite like it. Do you have trouble sleeping?
Yeah, I can't sleep. I'm terrible. Plus, a few years back, I had a serious accident, head injury and neck injury, and ever since then, I haven't slept properly at night time at all.
What? How did that accident occur? I mean, don't tell me if you don't want to talk about it, but
I was cycling, push bike.
Right.
I slipped on some oil. I wasn't going fast. I was literally doing less than 5 miles an hour. Just slipped on some oil, went over the handlebars, and my whole body weight just went on my neck.
God damn.
Damaged. Flattened my spinal cord, damaged all the nerves in my spine. I had concussion. I was in terrible pain for 2 years afterwards.
How long ago was that, mate?
2014.
Okay, so 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that's when all the PTSD came back as well, surfaced.
Right.
After that accident.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I think you know, I after the events of 2022, and even just saying that out loud, I get a chill going right through my body.
Emotion.
Yeah, I had terrible time sleeping, and I would go to bed later and later because I wouldn't want to go to sleep, because on average I was waking up screaming like 4 times a night, and when that's happening to you, you don't want to go to bed because you don't want to dream.
Yeah.
And I was finding that if I went to bed at just the right amount of exhaustion, I mean, this sounds terrible. It's definitely not healthy for you, for all you kids watching at home. This is not a recommendation, by the way, but this is what I was doing. Was I would stay up late enough so that I'd be so exhausted that my mind would shut down, and therefore,
I know exactly what you mean, mate. I've
in
done the same.
theory, you would dream less, and that worked sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think now what I do is once I get off the computer and this is the office, and I move to the bedroom, I just put on nonsense to watch, and I've been binging Friends, which is a brilliant show. It's superbly written. I'm amazed how well it still holds up. In fact, a lot of the sort of
got a huge following, isn't it, Friends?
Yeah, and the it's, I mean, obviously you can look at it on the surface and say it's a nonsense comedy, but it actually covers some really serious issues, and it does it very well, wrapped up in a nice neat bow of comedy. It's funny that some people are saying that the show's problematic now because it's about 6 middle-class white friends living in New York. If you've spent any time in America, which I have, I've lived there, and you've hung out even in a liberal city like in New York in the early 90s, which I did, you would know that the neighborhoods there were, yes, people did mix racially, socially, and all that, but also incredibly divided. And you didn't get huge groups of diverse characters all hanging out together. People tended to stick to their own a bit, and in many areas of America still do. It's a very, very divided nation. So I don't have a problem looking back at Friends and saying that's a natural reflection of middle class white kids in New York hanging out. It's pretty accurate in that context. I don't have a problem with it. I'm all for diversity and all the rest of it. But somebody that turns around and says, "Oh, that show's problematical now because it's not very diverse," fuck off. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I mean, Ross Has a Black Girlfriend at one point, which I thought was great that they did that story. Alicia Tyler, I think, Aisha Tyler, I think, played the girlfriend. And, that was great because at the time I just started dating black girls, and my dad was not great about that. He was old-fashioned European Danish guy. Wasn't the done thing in his time, that he didn't see that going on. And he was he gave the first girl I brought home of a different race, he gave her, I don't want to say he gave her a hard time because my dad was a lovely man, but he was he was abrupt and a bit cold, shall we say. And after we left, my mum gave him the biggest bollocking of his life. She actually turned around to him and said, "If I'd known you were ever going to behave like that, I never would have married you." And for my mum to say that to my dad, you've no idea what a big fucking thing that was. And the next time we came down, oh my God, what a difference. It's like pull open the chair for her to sit down at dinner and all this kind of thing. And he completely changed after that. He was great. And he really loved the last girlfriend of mine, who he got to meet, which wasn't the girl that I later married, but they both my parents absolutely loved her to bits. So anyway, all right, well, I think we'll wrap up here. Talked to quite a diverse range of topics there, from UFOs to Friends to PTSD. If you do have PTSD, anybody watching. I got diagnosed with severe PTSD 2 years ago. It's not an easy thing. It's not a trivial thing. It's very, very difficult. And what I would say to you is, to you, Mark, or to you, Danny, and also to people out there, is it does do you good to talk about it. It's not a shame. It's not something to be carried around shamefully. No. And you know,
people think it, you know, it only happens to people that are at war and see, you know, gruesome stuff and things like that. But it can be anything. I mean, any type of trauma can cause it, depending on the person and the, you know, and their experience.
Yeah, and there are support groups out there. I mean, you do of course have the Samaritans if you can get through to them on the phone. I've got my own way of letting people know I need help. If I'm in a bad place, I've got a little thing I put on my social media. My friends know to call me. They know to call me straight away if I put that particular signal out on social media. And I've got friends that do, and I've got friends in all time zones. So that's quite handy. You know, if I have a crisis at 2 o'clock in the morning and I put that signal up, my American friends see it. So usually one of them is on the phone to me. So it's important to have. But those support networks did not occur overnight. It took me a while to set those support networks up. It took me a while to establish friendships we value.
Mindfulness is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
If you want to look into it, learn a bit of meditation and stuff like that, and looking at the now and not thinking of the future and the past. You know, you got to, you know, sort of concentrate
Living
on
in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because Wormy Spoons has literally just said that. Have you ever done it? Meditation doesn't work for me. I have tried it.
Yeah,
I've tried various different forms of it. If you've hung out with me in person, you'll know that my mind races at 90 miles an hour. And that, you know, that's before I've had a drink or anything else. And that's just me on a normal day, because my imagination is so fertile. I'm always like, I write so fast. I write scripts so quickly. It's just, you know, so sometimes I akin myself to a slightly more sociable, different version of Dustin Hoffman from Rain Man, although that's probably overstating it. But yeah, so keeping still doesn't work for me. Keeping still, chanting, Buddhism, all that stuff, none of that stuff works for me. I've tried it. I always give things a try. But like I said, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Stay in touch with people, okay? And, you know, talk to people. That's the most important thing. Now, we're going to be...
Don't think you're a weak person either, because it happens to the strongest people.
No.
Never think you're weak, and, you know.
Yeah, and before, yeah, I always was a pretty strong personality.
In fact, they say that more people that have a nervous breakdown, they're actually strong-minded, and that's why that's why they end up having a breakdown, because they hold so much, you know, into themselves. They keep so much to themselves.
Well, before we wrap up, I just want to thank my good friend Danny for coming in and talking so openly, both about his UFO encounter when he was younger, and also, you know, mental health, which is always a topic I'm always quite happy to discuss on this channel. Tomorrow night, we've got the Nielsen ratings, where we'll be doing our usual breakdown of film and TV shows that we want to recommend you. We don't spend too long talking about the stuff that's crap. There's loads of other channels doing that, and they probably do a much better job of it than I do. We're mainly going to talk to you about stuff we want to recommend. If we do talk about something that we thought was going to be good but actually wasn't, you know, we might try and steer you away from it. But that's tomorrow night at 10 o'clock with my usual panel of guests. On Thursday, you'll like this, Danny. Your namesake is in the house. I'm doing an interview with Danny Lyons from...
Danny Lyons?
Yeah, Centre Force. He also is one of the main organisers of Orange, and he was also one of the main organisers of Rave Story, which I was at yesterday. So we've got him coming on. I've got Adele Anya coming on in November. Also, the Reed brothers from Rave Days are due to come on for an interview as well. So I'm interviewing quite a few creative people from our music scene now. Because it's all, they're all creative people basically. So it's all good. Anyway, so hopefully you'll be able to tune in. The interview with Danny is slightly earlier than usual. That's on Thursday at 7 p.m. and it's part 1 of 2 because we've agreed that one part won't be long enough. So until then, if you haven't heard the Outcasts song, here it is. And I'll see you all again tomorrow night at 10 o'clock.
The Outcasts Creative, where all the misfits and dreamers get innovative. It's film, TV, and theater in the mix. Industry interviews, where ideas get their fix. He's creative, we're creative. How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. At Outcasts Creative, we're breaking through. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Interviews with fellow artists on the rise and reviews that might surprise. Films, TV shows from back in the day. You might just find a hidden gem today. He's creative, we're creative. How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. At Outcasts Creative, we're breaking through. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Filmmakers, comic book creators, stand-up crowd. Actors, musicians, board game designers, be loud. At Outcast Creative, amazing's the word. He even interviewed the legend, Galen Hurd. He's creative, we're creative. How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. At Outcasts Creative, we're breaking through. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew. So come along, take a chance. Join the Outcasts, hang with Lance. Bring your vision, your art, your flair. At Outcasts Creative, there's always room to share. Hang with Lance and the Outcast crew.